December weather just might surprise you as an interesting weather pattern sets up over the next couple of weeks. We'll be detailing that right here on today's weather forecast. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, everyone. Hope everybody's having a great start to their weekend out there. I know I am, and make sure to hit the subscribe button down below to get more of these detailed weather breakdowns across North America right here on this channel. Also, be sure to press the like button down below. It's the thumbs up button. It helps out more than you know. So looking here this morning, we got some cooler weather to talk about up across the Midwest, especially in particular the upper Midwest, the Central Plains, and then off to the west across the Rockies. Temperatures this morning into the teens and 20s, even that freezing line getting all the way south into the Amarillo region, Oklahoma City getting very close to the Tulsa, Oklahoma region this morning. So make sure if you are heading out the door this morning to bundle up out there with some heavier coats and jackets, because it is certainly cold across the western half of the country. As we go into this afternoon, we will warm up, and temperatures will warm up nicely as we go into the afternoon. Up into the upper Midwest, where we're waking up into the teens and 20s, we will be warming up into the upper 30s to low 40s this afternoon. Across the southern tier of the United States, from Texas, across the Gulf Coast, and toward the East Coast there, especially from Virginia on southward, we're going to be seeing more of those 50s and 60s out there as we go into this afternoon, and then much of the same really as we go into Sunday afternoon to close out the weekend as well. So a very nice looking weekend as far as the temperatures go. Now let's look at the precipitation expected this weekend. As we go through today, we got a couple different storm systems we're keeping an eye on. Obviously, the main storm system bringing the heavier snows across the Pacific Northwest, across portions of Washington State, Oregon, really snowing there across Idaho into western Montana, even western Wyoming, seeing some snowfall as we go through today. Another storm system bringing some heavier rains and some thunderstorm activity will be down across the southeast, across portions of Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina as we go through the day today. As we go into Sunday, those two storm systems will be on opposite sides of the country. We'll continue to see the rain in the lower elevations across the Pacific Northwest, the heavier snows in those higher elevations there in the Pacific Northwest, and then a snow system to keep an eye on for interior New England, especially for Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and upstate New York, and even southeastern Canada as we go late this weekend into early next week. And looking right now at the rainfall accumulation for this weekend alone, you can see where we have the very heavy rains from Seattle down toward the Portland region, and some of that will be bleeding down into northern California. Several inches of rainfall accumulation on the order of 2 to 4 plus inches will be on the way. And then across the east coast of the United States, especially down there toward the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Northwest Florida, we could be adding up those rainfall totals over an inch to possibly as much as 3 inches in some localized areas this weekend. Looking at the snowfall accumulation, it's going to be unmistakably heavy across portions of the Pacific Northwest and those higher elevations. We're talking about you in Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, getting into western Montana. That will be moving down toward the Salt Lake City area there to Utah, western Wyoming, even the Colorado Rockies seeing some heavier snows right outside Denver there in those higher elevations this weekend. And notice across interior New England, across Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and upstate New York, and even parts of the upper Great Lakes, we'll start to see that snowfall footprint fill in as we go later on this weekend. In fact, storm total snowfall accumulations across southeastern Canada, especially into southern Quebec here, upstate New York, much of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, we could be seeing a widespread footprint of 6 to 10 inches of snow up here, with possibly up to a foot or more of snow in a couple of areas, especially into upstate New York and getting into southeastern Canada there as we get into early next week. So definitely some shoveling and some snow blowing and even plowing going on up here across the Northeast with this snowstorm. Then as we go through next week, things start to change a little bit here with our jet stream pattern. We have more of a ridge building building in across the middle of the country, and this is going to serve as a focal point for warmer temperatures as we go through the next week time frame, and it's going to also make our weather pattern very inactive as well. It's going to be very quiet across the middle of the country as we go into next week with a double-barreled area of high pressure across the Four Corners region and the lower Mississippi Valley. It's going to be hard-pressed to see much in the way of cloud cover down across those regions. Of course, opposite sides of the country is where we could see some storm systems moving through with some rain and snow, especially there again for the Pacific Northwest, and then some rain, possibly some flurries and snow showers for the Mid-Atlantic and the East Coast through next week. But overall, not really seeing too much of any major storm systems through the work week there next week. So early next week, our temperatures are going to be fairly mild out there. We're going to be seeing areas even to the north, across the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, into the 30s and 40s, 50s and 60s further to the south as we go into early next week. And then just look at those temperatures skyrocket and further north as well later next week. We're talking Thursday, Friday time frame. We could be seeing 50s arriving into places like Chicago, mid-50s at 57 in Des Moines, closing in on 60 there into the Omaha region. Even Rapid City in South Dakota will be up to 54 degrees later next week. So definitely a major warm-up on the way. And this does cause some trouble. So whenever you see warming temperatures into early and mid-December, you always have to keep an eye on a storm system that could come along and move that warm air out of the way, because eventually you're going to have some cold air move in. And that we do have as we get toward the middle of December. So next weekend on Saturday, a rather robust low pressure system and a very robust mid-level jet will be crashing in across portions of the southern Four Corners region into West Texas. That will shift east and take a little bit more concerning negative tilt potentially as we go into late next weekend on Sunday, December 10th. And looking at this synoptically, you do see those dew points rising into the 50s and 60s all the way to the north and further north than we have seen it so far this cold season, potentially into the lower Missouri Valley. We're talking about up toward the Wichita region, even Springfield, Missouri, getting into those mid-50s with those dew points later next weekend. And then looking at this footprint of precipitation, we could have a snowstorm on the system's backside here where we have the moisture and the very cold air coming in across the Dakotas, portions of Wyoming, and the Colorado Rockies back here on Saturday. Warm air advection on the front end of the system with warmer air and some scattered rain showers and some thunderstorm activity across the southern and central plains in the mid-south as we go into early next weekend on Saturday the 9th. Then things look to start get going as we get into Sunday, December 10th. We got a full-fledged snowstorm here, possibly as far south as the Texas Panhandle, New Mexico, into the Oklahoma Panhandle here. That will go into portions of western Kansas, getting up into portions there of Nebraska, western Iowa, perhaps up here into northern Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan. And then further south, we're going to be watching for heavy rain and severe weather on the system's warm side, and that could be as far north as the lower Missouri Valley with that heavy rain and severe weather threat as we go into that Sunday time frame. It's all about the placement of this low pressure system and its track, and usually with more of these moisture laden systems, you notice on Monday it doesn't move too much. It has a lot of moisture with it and it doesn't move very fast. So we're going to have rounds of showers and thunderstorms producing heavy rain and severe weather. And we're going to have more of a long duration snow or rain snow mix on the backside, even as we go into the following week on Monday, December 11th as well. So looking at early estimates here for potential rainfall accumulation, this system will be moisture laden. So we could be seeing quite a bit in the way of rainfall down here, especially into Dixie Alley and the deep south again, as we go from Saturday, December 9th through that Monday, December 11th time frame. And even though it's moving slowly, we still could be seeing some heavy rainfall rates even with one round of a line of storm that come through, and then the next day another line of storms could come through. And just two lines of storms, even though they're moving quickly, could definitely put down a lot of rainfall. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then on the system's backside, the cold air will be just there enough to where we could be talking about a couple of snowstorms happening, and that could be as far south as the Texas Panhandle, the Oklahoma Panhandle, northeastern New Mexico, on up through western Kansas, getting into Nebraska, western Iowa, even into portions there of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and even portions of Michigan, and then getting into southeastern Canada. We will be refining this as we go a little bit closer in toward next weekend, with the track of the system being key. This could wobble north or south, so we'll keep an eye on that as we do get closer. But what is more certain here for sure is by the middle of December, beyond this storm system, with a storm system that's strong, it's likely going to have a strong cold front with it, and it's going to drop our temperatures. We're going to have a nice cold push of air from Canada into the middle of the country and then the eastern 2/3 of the country as we go into mid-December. That will send temperatures 10 to 20 degrees below normal as we get toward the middle of the month, going right into the 15th of December timeframe. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, especially for detailed weather breakdowns, accurate weather forecasts right here on this channel. Make sure to press the like button down below. It definitely helps out more than you know, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their weekend out there.